In the shifting sands of the Levant, where ancient roads have borne pilgrims and conquerors alike, a different kind of journey has just unfolded. Two figures, known to the world by titles and tabloid renderings, have stepped beyond the glare of celebrity to stand with those wounded by conflict and displacement. This is not a ceremonial parade beneath palace banners, but a quiet, urgent bearing of witness, a humanitarian mission rooted in pain, resilience, and the fragile hope of healing. Today, we trace the footsteps of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, together yet distinct in purpose, as they traverse the landscape of human suffering in Jordan. Their itinerary is not an itinerary of photogenic stateliness, but of encounter, empathy, and sustained engagement with those whom war has rendered unseen. Welcome. This is Majesty Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time here with us. Don't go anywhere.
Show up, do good. That's how the fire starts. One light, one voice, one beating heart. Be kind, be brave, let the fear fall away. You are the change we need today. We showed up and did good. Now join us and let's change the world.
Their visit kicked off in Amman, the capital of Jordan. Their first engagement was a roundtable convened by Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, and I do apologize for mispronouncing your name because I'm sure I have, Director General of the World Health Organization, alongside key donors, regional leaders, and humanitarian partners. The purpose was clear: to mobilize attention and resources towards health response, mental health, and support for communities uprooted by conflict and displacement. This was framed as a working discussion, not a photo op, and the Sussexes stood side by side with representatives from the UN agencies and international donors who are managing the front lines of humanitarian response. From the capital Amman, Harry and Meghan traveled to Za'atari Refugee Camp, the largest refugee camp in the Middle East, home to tens of thousands of Syrians displaced by more than a decade of conflict. At the Quest Scope Youth Center, they met with young people and community leaders engaged in activities that support both physical rehabilitation and psychological healing for those whose lives have been fractured by war. Here, their presence was not distant but participatory, listening, observing, and engaging with people whose stories are too often simplified in headlines. On the same day, the couple visited the specialty hospital in Amman to meet with children who had been medically evacuated from the conflict in Gaza. These young lives brought to Jordan for critical care embody the human toll of broader conflict. Bodies and spirits both vulnerable, both resilient in their suffering. Harry and Meghan's engagement with these families and medical staff was grounded in recognition and compassion, emphasizing that the cost of war is measured in human faces and not just a headline. This journey, while brief, intersects with several layers of global humanitarian engagement: partnership with WHO, The visit is undertaken with the World Health Organization, emphasizing health and mental health needs for displaced and war affected civilians. Amplifying humanitarian work. Their itinerary includes organizations such as Quest Scope and later a planned visit to World Central Kitchen, whose food assistance program have been critical in conflict zones. Focus on long-term consequences. While this trip spans only 2 days, its narrative centers on listening, learning, and amplifying, a focus on sustained humanitarian response rather than transient headline moments. Perhaps the most crippling scene of this humanitarian mission took place at the specialty hospital in Amman, where the Sussexes met children medically evacuated from Gaza, young survivors of intense conflict whose lives have been altered in an instant. Among them, a 17-year-old named Jaber, whose legs were shattered when he was shot while collecting food for his family, left with metal frames supporting his recovery. A 14-year-old girl named Maria, whose family was killed in an explosion. She survived with severe burns and trauma that resulted in amputation of her toes. Meghan crouched down to speak with her, and Harry listened with palpable concern as wounds were shared with permission.
Violin, for example, versus the keyboard. How do you know which one is the right fit?
So, like the other room, here our activities are integrated with mental health exercises to help them express themselves and discover their feelings. Yes,
especially for mental health. Everybody else is as well. Yeah, we will go to see the jam. Shukran ya sabah.
Thank you all. And that group over there is doing the same, or
They're doing no.
painting?
يعطيكم العافية. شكرا. Like cement, the white one. So they use it from
molding
scratch.
clay.
They're molding, they use it and they start with that, then they start.
Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, walk paths far removed from the comforts of their lives. Their presence in Jordan is a testament to attention as a form of care, and to the conviction that those who have been eclipsed by global narratives of war deserve to be seen, heard, and recognized. In refugee camps, they listened. In hospital rooms, they witnessed pain turned tender by hope. In roundtables discussion, they work alongside voices committed to relief and recovery. This is not the choreography of celebrity. It is the rhythm of presence, the cadence of solidarity with those whose lives are shaped by forces often beyond their control.
entire culture change in the UK for these people to stop fawning over these royals. And it's not stopped at all. It's literally not stopped. The front pages today are like, oh, William's not in a calm state. He can't watch Hamnet. Oh, I'm so sorry for William. Can't watch Hamnet. Dreadful. Like, who gives a flying...
I did notice, I think it was the BBC had a picture of Kate and William at the BAFTAs, and they were like, the show must go on.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's the level of journalism and scrutiny we're having here, is that, like, they put on a brave face, they've gone to the BAFTAs, good for them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
are you joking?
Yeah. I need an entire...
Amanda Platel says that no one seems to dare say it, but William is the monarchy's next big problem. She's wrong, because I have been saying it over and over for at least several years now. William is petty, vindictive, and full of rage. You can see it on his face in this photo. You can see it when he talks to reporters. And you can see it in all of his briefings about his brother, who he hates because his brother was able to get away from the family and the firm and doesn't have to do the work that William now has to do, which is show up, be seen for the monarchy, answer some questions when they're being asked, and do a job that benefits Britain in any way. When asked such hard-hitting questions like, is the family racist? He says, this family is very much not racist. He can't even answer simple questions in a way that makes sense. He is lazy. He doesn't like to work. He only works between the hours of 9 and 4. For example, William knew that he was going to eventually become the Prince of Wales, and he has never learned to speak Welsh, not even in the 40 years that he knew he was going to become the Prince of Wales. He has 5 homes. 5. He doesn't need all of those homes. He just has them because he thinks he's entitled to them. We have heard over and over from various reporting in the media that he has a temper and anger issues, and he treats his staff terribly. This is really no different from Charles, but William seems to be less interested in learning and reading and trying to be better, like Charles tries to be. Amanda Platel says that no one...
Lil Tony responds, yeah, you know he's on. Tiny voice, big truth, watch him drop the proof. Lil Tony responds, he's clever and calm. When the grown folks argue, he brings the charm. Little sneakers on the floor, big ideas knocking at the door. He listens close, he thinks it through, then he tells you what is true. No shout and no pretend, just facts he's gonna send. Small but mighty, that's his tone, standing firm all on his own. Hey! Wait, what? Okay, let's talk about it. Lil Tony...
That Andrew is in.
No, Harry and Meghan are not worse than Andrew. Come on, Dolan, you've lost the plot.
You know, it's interesting with Harry and Meghan. There is no financial impropriety. There is no sexual impropriety, no national security concerns, no classified documents, no business deals.
Yeah.
So we'll give them that. But I'll flip it, and I'll say there's an argument that Harry and Meghan... that Andrew is in.
No.
Wait. You're telling me Harry and Meghan are worse than Prince Andrew? Okay, let's line this up with my baby blocks. Prince Andrew, accused in U.S. civil court of sexual assault, photographed with Jeffrey Epstein, gave that interview. Yes, that interview. Paid millions in a settlement, stepped down from royal duties, gave state secrets away. Those are documented facts. Now, Harry and Meghan left royal life. Did an interview, did a docu-series to tell their side of the story, wrote a book, started charities, make podcasts, and you're saying those are morally equivalent? Never ever leave me in a room with that guy, ever. Racism is deeply ingrained in UK media and society. When there are people defending a PDF, a person who leaked state business secrets, and still hate Meghan, a woman minding her own business, you all are very ill. There is a deep illness in the kingdom.
This is really interesting because we'd heard rumours just after Meghan had joined that, all wasn't well behind palace doors and maybe she wasn't the most liked amongst palace staff. We later learned, via the Times story, because these were actually emails sent by Jason Knorf to the private secretary raising concerns. This wasn't just, gossip behind the scenes. This was, I'm worried about the treatment of staff, and he's raised it to his superior. But we understand that, William and Catherine were aware of this. And this alleged treatment from Meghan to her staff did cause the split, or help cause the split between William and Catherine and Meghan and Harry.
Well, I think Samara's right. This is a different style, clearly. She doesn't know how to behave. Catherine adapted to the institution and knows what the unwritten rules are. I do think that Fergie had the same problem. She came into the royal family and she began to be pretty high-minded about things, or high-handed, about things, and there has rapid turnover of staff. And I think one of the reasons the bullying report hasn't been published, partly to keep a sort of something to hold against the Sussexes, but also because if they published that report, they would then have to sort of say, well, why haven't you investigated other members of the royal family who also were bullying to staff?
Well, this is really interesting because we'd heard rumours.
Oh, look, it's Matt Wilkinson, boy band reject, and racism's new face, allegedly. And it's that time of the month. No, not that time of the month, ladies. This is the time when Matt has discovered again, for the 10,000 times that Meghan bullied staff. And we are going all the way back to 2018 emails. We're dusting that one off? Again? So, let me get this straight, Matt. You whisper that Meghan wasn't liked by staff, and your smoking gun is Jason Knopf, Prince William's aide, emailing another palace insider during the run-up to the Oprah interview. That's not evidence. That's office politics with a crown on top. Then Andrew pipes up with, she doesn't know how to behave, while praising Catherine for learning the unwritten rules. Translation, Meghan didn't bow low enough to the rota or the hierarchy, so suddenly she's the problem. Funny how women who don't play doormat are always difficult. And this bullying report you all love to dangle? Even your own guest admits one reason it's never been published is so the palace can keep something to hold against the Sussexes and avoid opening the door on other royals who bully staff too. If the report proved Meghan was a monster, it would be on a billboard in Piccadilly by now. The fact that Harry and Meghan asked for it to be published and still haven't been allowed to see it tells us everything we need to know. You lot will dissect one alleged 3 a.m. email from Meghan where she literally says there's no need to answer anytime soon, but you somehow can't find time to talk about a prince who had to settle a sex abuse case and lost every public role he had. Meghan sends prep notes before a meeting, and she's a bully. Andrew flies to see Epstein after his conviction, and he's embarrassed, but basically left alone until the public revolts.
And check out what this UK minister just said about Andrew. And many civil servants have told me their own stories of their interactions with Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, and they all betray the same pattern. A man on a constant self-aggrandizing and self-enriching hustle. A rude, arrogant and entitled man who could not distinguish between the public interest, which he said he served.
So now lawmakers in the British Parliament have voted to push the government to release more Epstein files. This could have consequences for Andrew because he's facing allegations that he leaked sensitive government material to Jeffrey Epstein. But a lot of people in Parliament, a lot of people in the general public here in the UK are asking themselves, how did he get the trade job to begin with? He was UK trade envoy. Also asking themselves, what did Andrew tell his mother, the late Queen, about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? What did he tell his brother, the now King? And a big question all the Brits are asking, how did he get the money together to pay the settlement for Virginia Giuffre? I should say he paid that settlement, not admitting any wrongdoing. There are also big questions around Peter Mandelson. He's the former UK ambassador to the US. He was arrested yesterday. Lawmakers want to know if he was involved in the decision that made Andrew the trade envoy. It's the Andrew Epstein-Mandelson nexus that lawmakers are trying to unravel. And just for clarity, it's understood that Mandelson doesn't believe he's done anything criminally wrong, and Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing when it comes to allegations of sexual assault. Check out.
Early noughties, I was working overseas, as I've said, with the British Council. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor visited us as part of his role as a UK trade envoy. There were rumours about him that he refused to stay in the ambassador's residence, would only stay in the Four Seasons or similar top-end hotels, and that he took with him an ironing board overseas when he went. That was a euphemism for a massage table. Andrew, as I have said, came to an exhibition I had put on about Dolly the sheep, at the time the pinnacle of British innovation, and we were rightly proud of it as an example of UK scientific excellence. And one of my team, a young Japanese woman who worked for the British government as a member of staff of the British Council, her job, we paid her, was to promote the UK, showed the then prince around with some Japanese dignitaries. Dolly the sheep, he sneered, it's rubbish. Frankenstein sheep, he said. My team member was deflated and didn't understand why this representative of the British state diminished what she was rightly proud of. My late father-in-law, Air Vice Marshal in the RAF, was at a dinner overseas with Mountbatten-Windsor on an overseas trip in the 1990s. Windsor said in front of many foreign military and diplomatic seniors, no need for a Royal Air Force. My father-in-law said nothing. And that was a problem. You couldn't because of Windsor's privileged position. That, Madam Deputy Speaker, is the point of this debate. Some officials knew, or the system seemed to know, but the system seemingly failed to do anything about it for 10 years because of privilege and because of deference. In the early
There are articles that criticize, and then there are articles that accuse. This piece in New Statesman, written by Will Lloyd, does not merely question the British monarchy, it indicts it. It begins not in a palace, but on the battlefield. A 25-year-old British soldier, Lance Sergeant Dave Greenholt, killed in Afghanistan in 2010. His father wrote that his son died for God, Queen, and country. The article asks a brutal question. What exactly did he die for? So, we're going to examine that question carefully, not theatrically, not emotionally unfettered, but structurally. Because if the crown is crumbling, as the headlines claim, we need to understand whether that is exaggeration or perhaps consequence. When loyalty meets allegation, the article pivots from Helmand province to Windsor Castle, from battlefield sacrifice to Prince Andrew. It references the release of US court documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein, documents that included communications involving Prince Andrew. One specific allegation cited in the article, that a government briefing concerning investment opportunities in Afghanistan was forwarded by Andrew to Epstein. Now, this is important. Andrew denies wrongdoing in connection with Epstein. He has not been convicted of any crime related to those documents. He reached a civil settlement in the US with Virginia Giuffre without admitting liability. Those are the facts. But the article's moral thrust is this. If British soldiers were dying in Helmand, and if a royal figure was simultaneously sharing investment intelligence about that same region with a convicted sex offender, then something has broken in the moral logic of service. The crown symbolizes sacrifice. But what happens when sacrifice appears to benefit the powerful? That is the question Lloyd hammers relentlessly. The monarchy and the web of oaths. Here the article becomes less emotional and more constitutional. It raises concerns about the British legal system's relationship to the crown. Judges swear allegiance to the monarch. Members of parliament swear allegiance to the monarch. Police swear allegiance to exactly the monarch. The author asks whether a fair trial involving the king's brother could exist within that symbolic framework. Now, historically speaking, Britain's legal system has persecuted members of the aristocracy before. The monarchy survived the abdication crisis of Edward VIII in 1936. It survived civil war in the 17th century, including the execution of Charles I in 1649. It survived scandals involving Princess Margaret and marital breakdowns in the 20th century. The institution has endured worse storms. Well, okay. But what Lloyd argues is different now. It's about transparency. The release of American court files, you folks know what files I'm talking about, the speed of global media, the erosion of automatic defense, the monarchy once relied on mystique. Now it lives under permanent scrutiny. But it's a selective scrutiny, though, because we know the relationship that exists between British media, British press, and the palace and the firm. So that is not a moral argument. It is a technological reality. Now we go into something that he calls a quasi-elective monarchy. And what he outlines basically is one of the most provocative claims in the article, is that the monarchy now survives not by divine right, nor purely by heredity, but by polling. And I mean, they're the ones who made it this way, right? So by public approval. The piece suggests that if popularity collapses, Parliament could intervene in succession questions. Historically, Parliament has intervened before, most notably with the Act of Settlement in 1701. So the concept is not unprecedented, but we must be very disciplined here. There is currently no parliamentary bill to remove Prince Andrew from the line of succession. There is no active constitutional crisis underway. The article is warning, not reporting an imminent overthrow. It frames the monarchy as vulnerable because legitimacy today is psychological as much as it is legal. If reverence fades, authority softens. Then it goes into William, Harry, and the future, what it called Two Houses, One Throne. The article ventures into speculation about the possibility of reputational rivalry between the Wales households and the Sussex household. So let's look at the facts. Let's look at factual things here. Prince Harry is no longer performing royal duties, what they may call quote unquote royal duties. Prince William is the heir to the throne. There is no formal rival court. All right? The House of Windsor versus House of Sussex. Framing is interpretive commentary. However, what is true is that the monarchy today faces reputational strain from multiple directions. Andrew's legal exposure, Harry's public criticism of the institution, rightly so, questions about transparency, generational shifts in public loyalty. The Crown once feared Republican pamphlets. Now it contends with global dignity memory. If we were to ask the question, has the monarchy survived worse? One could theoretically say yes, of course. It survived the English Civil War, the abdication crisis, world wars, Princess Diana's death, and the backlash that followed, political modernization. But survival is not static. Institutions do not collapse only when defeated. They weaken when moral clarity erodes. And what do we think is happening right now? The monarchy's strength historically has been restraint. If it appears to protect individuals at the expense of principle, even symbolically, trust thins. That does not mean collapse is imminent. It means the margin for error is smaller than it once was. Now, Will Lloyd's article is not neutral at all. It is, in some ways, I'm having issues with that word. Prosecutorial. That's it. Prosecutorial in tone. I should have written a different word that I could pronounce easily. It draws sharp moral lines, but beneath its rhetoric is a real tension. When soldiers swear loyalty to crown and country, the crown must remain worthy of that loyalty. The British monarchy has survived worse crises. Worse than this. The question is not whether it can survive it. The question is whether it adapts transparency, constitutionally, credibly, to a century that no longer tolerates silence. Right? Or that whole thing that they say. They don't say anything, we don't speak. And we all know they do. Just through the tabloids, through the Royal Rota. So, in theory, the crown is not crumbling, but it is no longer untouchable. And that difference matters. It really does. So it's a fascinating article. I would encourage you to read it. Pretty good. It's pretty good, I thought.
Imagine being more angry that Harry and Meghan met with medical evacuees in Jordan and played soccer with kids at a refugee camp for displaced Syrians than the fact that the former queen and much of the monarchy have been complicit for decades in a greedy, obnoxious, entitled former prince's despicable behavior because he thought he was untouchable. He had children trafficked to him, and his ex-wife, the former Duchess of York, took the two princesses to celebrate the release of a child sex offender from prison. And you're worried that Harry and Meghan are using their influence to bring awareness to refugees and an ongoing humanitarian crisis? And Andrew's falling apart at the seams because after decades of profiting off of his title and having the British taxpayer pay for his happy endings, he's stuck with only 2 servants, has had to downsize to a 5-bedroom home on the Sandringham estate that his brother, the king, is paying to renovate, and won't be allowed to go horseback riding anymore. And this was the problem all along. Harry and Meghan, who are actually concerned about doing good in the world, were too good for the royal family, whose biggest concern is their continued survival.
The hate towards Meghan and Harry is something beyond me, because the way the UK media and tabloids talk about this tour, wow, But if you didn't know, Harry and Meghan are in Jordan as part of a 2-day tour. They will be highlighting efforts to support vulnerable communities affected by conflict and displacement. Doesn't sound bad to me. In fact, it sounds pretty decent. But the UK media doesn't think so. Of course, we got a couple of front pages. Look who's popped up on a surprise royal tour. Surprise because they don't tell the royal rota everything. And the Times with Harry and Meghan's not royal tour. The Express with their usual use of the word savaged. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle savaged as Jordan tour branded useless exercise. Don't report on it then. Then we have the usual trying to make Meghan irrelevant. You know Meghan? The moment a little girl asked, you know Meghan, then walks away. Kids will be kids. And the UK media will be the UK media. Copy and paste from the Express. And the Sun went with, let's compare Kate and Meghan again. Meghan tries to take a leaf out of Princess Kate's book as she boots football around with Harry on... you'll never stop them being royal. Harry's the son of the king. Daily Mail, same story. Bended like Meghan. Duchess celebrates scoring goal against a child and proves she's a match for Kate when it comes to playing in the beautiful game. This comparison not required. Daily Mail again with Meghan reaches out. Then we've got the Daily Mail with a combo, Diana and Kate in the same headline. Meghan does Diana in Jordan. Duchess channels her late mother-in-law in £1,050 white tweed blazer, but puts a Kate-inspired spin on her look. Honestly. But what's this, Daily Mail? A rare fashion misstep on the jaunt for Jordan for Meghan? Make up your mind, Daily Mail, because in the next headline, Meghan Markle's helping sell out this jacket and we can help you look like Meghan too. Mind blown. And again, it's not a surprise. It's just a surprise to you, Royal Rota. But let's be real, it's keeping these two out of the headlines, and these headlines ain't good. Haters, stay mad.
Okay, I had to change mics. I hope the sound is okay with this one. Hopefully. So something I wanted to sort of discuss a little bit with you folks. And in going through some of the photographs and video and so on that was coming out from Jordan, one of the things that I started to notice was Meghan, her sort of, and I want to be careful how I say this, her expression, and you can see here in the photograph here at the bottom, that expression of alarm, that expression of I want to say that a mother would have at learning certain things, right? Especially about children. And I'll tell you, it just broke my heart because, Meghan being also an artist, being an actor, many times one can do one's best to sort of hide that emotion. And she couldn't. And the second thought that came to me was the things that they probably learned, because they would have debriefed them, right? And if we know the Sussexes, there's binders, but the things that you read in the binders are the things that you prepare for, the sort of portfolio that is sent to you, and you go through. But when you're there and you actually see the reality, you see these young kids, what war has done to them. I just, my heart just went out for her. Because also, I noticed also with Harry, it was almost like they were debriefed, but I think in the debrief also there was perhaps certain things that just really shocked them. And then being there, I mean, when I saw the refugee camp, the extension of that, it's just this vast amount of people. And they've been there for years. For years. It's like just in limbo. And it just really broke. I don't know how many times I'll say it breaks my heart, because I look at in the Western world the idiocy, the selfishness, the greed, all of those things, and perhaps I shouldn't just say the Western world, because in the Middle East, there are very wealthy nations in the Middle East. Okay, very wealthy nations. I don't know how much more money, how much more wealth people need to accumulate and just hoard it, rather than to actually help people, help them have a better life. And I can just see the pain in her expression. And looking at Harry, I can just see like he's, and I mean the man has been in war. The man has been to war. But I think for both of them, being parents to very young kids, certain things hit you differently. It really does. And I just want this, when I saw this video, it just didn't break my heart. I just started, like, I couldn't contain my emotions. I couldn't.
After multiple attempts, dressings are being done under anesthesia because they are very painful, like there in Gaza. However, she had severe degloving injuries to her legs. She said yes. Okay, so her plan was to amputate her right leg. However, they refused. After multiple attempts, dressings are being done under anesthesia because they are very painful, like there in Gaza. However, she had.
You can see it in there. Oh, ooh. You can see it in their expression. Meghan looks like alarmed. You see, she takes a little bit of a step back, right, and then she comes forward again, as they were about to sort of take the blanket off of the young girls, so they can see. And I you know, Harry, I think Harry said something to the regards, are you sure, or did you ask her first? I couldn't quite, but something to that sort, because the doctor, I think he responds back and he goes, yes, she's okay. I'm showing it. Her toes are completely gone, and her it doesn't stop shocking me. The violence that we exercise on each other, and for what? The suffering, the violence. It is mind-boggling to me. Like I don't, and I never will understand it. And I know I've said this in every, I said it 1,000 times or more, but I'll never understand.
Sussex have kicked off a 2-day tour in Jordan, visiting a refugee camp and a hospital. Prince Harry and Meghan say the trip is to support vulnerable communities affected by conflict in the Middle East. Well, our royal correspondent Simon Viger is here in the studio. Good to see you this evening, Simon. What more can you tell us about the tour?
Well, it's a sort of hybrid royal tour, Tessa, because, of course, they stepped down from royal duties in 2020. Seems a long time ago now. Jordan really is a hub for the humanitarian effort for for Syrian refugees and Palestinian refugees. Let's take a look. We don't have that many pictures, but here is Harry and Meghan arriving in Amman, the capital of Jordan today. They're the guests of the World Health Organization. Their crew shot these pictures. They're also visiting World Central Kitchen, which is very important in terms of getting aid into Gaza, which is a controversial topic. And Harry and Meghan have donated £370,000 to the WHO. It's for Gaza and also Ukraine, and it's not just food, it's also prosthetics and things like that.
And you mentioned this is a hybrid royal tour because they're not actually working members of the royal family anymore. How does that actually work?
Well, they were invited, they can pick and choose. They were invited by the World Health Organization to go to Jordan. They've informed the British Embassy and the ambassadors welcomed them to Jordan, but it's not an official visit in the sense that they're representing the British government or representing the King. This is very much their tour. Let's have a look at some images of them in the camp that you were talking about there. They've been meeting children, also meeting patients in the hospital there. And these pictures are from the World Health Organization, not the Royal Rota. Of course, Harry and Meghan fell out with the Royal Rota, which was the British media, including 5 News, back in 2019. So these pictures are from the World Health Organization. We have got a clip of Harry. You've got to listen carefully because of the audio on this particular clip. But this is what Harry says to those who are working with refugees.
It is an honour and a privilege to be in a room full of people with such big hearts. I don't know how many times you get thanked for the work that you do, probably not enough. But for everybody around the table and all the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, the people who are putting their lives at risk, the people who, no matter what, no matter the headwinds, if things weren't hard enough anyway, they've now been made harder. And believe me, everybody that knows.
I mean, there's no doubt going to be lots of interest in this tour, lots of coverage as well. Do you think they're going to do more of this kind of thing?
I think they will. I mean, the children are still young, of course, but they will as they can. This is their first joint trip for 18 months. They've been to Colombia before, they've been to Nigeria before. Obviously, this will be a significant visit too. I'm sure we will see more of it.
Now, the Duke and Duchess of...
I don't know about you, but I'm always amused by how these people frame everything, right? It's like they just can't. It is what it is. I think Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are showing these people, the way forward. They really are, and I couldn't be more proud to be part of this community that does what we need to do to amplify their message and, spread some good in the world. As I'm wrapping this up, I just saw that Channel 4 has an interview, but I have to wrap this up and get it posted. So, this is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you enjoyed Little Tony's section. And hope you learned something. And if you didn't, I also hope at least you were entertained and got to take your mind off of anything that is stressing you. Okay? Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. To all the new members, 1 or 2, thank you for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It helps us one way or another. And please do all the things that the algorithm asks us to do or to tell you to please do. So it knows that we're still a channel that is still, we're still here. So like, share, leave comments, all that stuff. Interact with the content. I'm telling you. This is a little community, but mighty community. It's a little channel, but a mighty channel. Choo, 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 the little train that could. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to your loved ones and to that stranger that may be crossing your path. You might be the only kind thing they've known or seen or anyone being kind to them in a while. I love you all. God bless. Take care. Until we speak again. Mwah.
That's how the fire starts. One light, one voice, one beating heart. Be kind, be brave. Let the fear fall away. You are the change we need today.
We showed up and did good. Now join us and let's change the world.
Kindness, together